The street was too quiet for a Friday night. Just the low buzz of a street lamp and the sound of a rusty bike chain clicking with every tired pedal. Jordan Ellis leaned forward, on his handlebars, hoodie drawn tight against the wind. His shift at Quick-Mart had dragged, 5 hours, 2 angry customers, and 1 broken soda machine. Outside the shuttered pharmacy, he caught a glimpse of something out of place. An old woman, maybe late 70s, sat on a concrete curb, no bag, no coat, hands folded like she had been waiting there all day. She was not crying. She was not speaking. She just sat there, perfectly still, staring at the empty parking lot. Jordan passed her, then he stopped. Something about the stillness bothered him. Not the way someone waits for a ride, but the kind of stillness that does not expect one to come. He wheeled around and approached slowly, careful not to startle her. "Ma'am, you okay?" Her eyes lifted to his, gentle but unfocused. "I was supposed to call someone, but I cannot remember the number." He offered his phone. She looked at it like it was a puzzle. "Do you know where you live?" he asked. Her face folded in on itself, like the question hurt more than the cold night air. "I think my name is Eleanor," she whispered. Jordan took off his hoodie and wrapped it around her shoulders. Then, balancing her carefully on the crossbar of his old bike, he pedaled through the quiet streets, back to the one place he knew was safe, his Aunt Thea's apartment. But who was she? And why had no one else stopped? She said her name was Eleanor. Then she vanished. Aunt Thea did not ask many questions. When Jordan wheeled Eleanor into the small kitchen that night, she just looked the woman over, saw the bare hands, the worn shoes, the distant eyes, and pulled another mug from the cupboard. Eleanor sat at the tiny table with chipped blue paint and drank her tea in small, careful sips. She did not talk much. When she did, her sentences wandered like smoke. She said she liked jasmine tea and that she once had a garden. She smiled at the photo of Jordan's late mother on the wall. "She looks kind," she said softly. By midnight, she had dozed off on the couch with a knit blanket over her knees. Jordan made a pillow from an old hoodie, turned off the lamp, and whispered, "Good night, Eleanor." The next morning, she was gone. No note, no footprints. The blanket was folded. The cup was rinsed and drying by the sink. Jordan checked every block, every bench, every place a lonely stranger might sit. He asked neighbors, showed her picture from his phone. No one had seen her. Not that morning. Not ever. 3 days passed. Then 4. By the 5th, Jordan began to wonder if he had imagined her. Maybe she was never real. Just a tired dream at the end of a long shift. Then, on the 6th day, something arrived in the mail. It was not addressed to Jordan, just to the young man who paid attention. No return address. No stamp. Inside the plain envelope was a single item, a cream-colored business card with gold lettering that read, Renford Estate Trust, Private Matters Division, and on the back, in uneven cursive, "You reminded me of someone I used to be." Jordan read the words twice, then 3 times. The handwriting shook with age, but it was unmistakably hers. His fingers tightened around the card. Not because of what it meant, but because of what it suggested. She had not been lost. She had been remembering, and for the first time in a long time, someone had seen her. The address on the card was real. What waited behind the gate was not what he expected. Jordan almost did not go. The card sat on his dresser for 2 full days. He picked it up, set it down, stared at it like it might change or disappear. But on the 3rd morning, right after dawn, he grabbed his backpack, slipped the card into his jacket, and caught the number 82 bus headed north. The city changed the farther. He went. Graffiti gave way to hedges. Fast food turned into wine bars. Old corner stores disappeared, replaced by boutiques with names that had fewer vowels and more glass. He got off 2 stops early just to walk. The address was real. He double-checked at E. The edge of the block, a wrought-iron gate curled up like black lace around a red brick estate. There was no buzzer, no camera, no doorman. Just a curved nameplate above the walkway that said, Renford House. He stood outside for a full minute before the gate creaked open on its own. A woman in a navy blue suit greeted him at the door like she had been expecting him. "Mr. Jordan Ayers?" she asked gently. He nodded. "She is in the garden. She does not like walls too much these days." Jordan followed the stone path past a marble fountain and 2 enormous oak trees that looked older than the house itself. Around the corner, tucked behind a hedge of white hydrangeas, was a small wooden bench. And there she was, Eleanor. Same quiet eyes. Same calm hands folded in her lap. A soft gray sweater lay across her knees, like it had always belonged there. She looked up. "You came," she said. "I did," Jordan replied, stepping closer. She patted the bench beside her. They sat in silence. At first, not uncomfortable. Just open. "I'm sorry if I caused you trouble," she said finally. "You did not. I wasn't always like that, you know. Drifting. Blank. I don't think you're blank now." She gave a tired smile. One that held entire decades inside. "I used to be sharp. Ruthless, even. People respected me because I could out-negotiate anyone in a room. Not because I was kind." Jordan stayed quiet. "That night," she went on, "you reminded me what it meant to be seen. Just seen. With no questions. No angle. That mattered more than you know." Then she reached into her sweater pocket and handed him something, a folded piece of stationery, neatly creased, sealed with a paperclip. "This is for you," she said. "Not because you helped me, but because I want to help you build something." He unfolded the paper. It was not a check. It was a signed letter, addressed to her personal attorney, authorizing the creation of a fully funded educational endowment, in Jordan Ayers' name. Tuition, housing, materials, anywhere he chose. No catch. Jordan stared at it. "I do not understand. I do not need another estate," she said. "But I would like to help build yours." He looked up. Her hands were trembling slightly now, but her voice was steady. "You did not ask me who I was. You just offered your hoodie, your bike, your time. I have met world leaders, Jordan. Sat on boards, owned shares in firms you would recognize by logo alone. But that night, none of that mattered. I was invisible." She paused. Her eyes searched his face. "You made me feel human again." He looked at the letter. It felt too heavy for paper. "I don't know what to say." "Then don't," she replied. "Just do something honest with it. Something good. That is all." He thought it was over. But the world was just catching up. 3 days later, a black sedan pulled up in front of Aunt Thea's house. Jordan was on the porch, repairing the squeaky door hinge. He looked up just as a man in a gray suit stepped out, briefcase in hand, shoes spotless. "Mr. Jordan Ayers?" the man asked, offering a business card before Jordan could answer. "Carter Lynn, Renford Estate Legal Affairs." "I work on behalf of Ms. Eleanor Renford," he said. "She asked me to deliver this personally." He handed over a leather folder and stepped back. Aunt Thea, who had come to the door with a dish rag over her shoulder, took it cautiously. She opened it and froze. Inside were legal papers, real ones, stamped, signed, and sealed. The letter of endowment had been formalized through Eleanor's trust. The numbers on the last page, committed funds, made Thea sit down right on the porch step. "Is this a joke?" she whispered. Carter shook his head. "She did not remember your address, but she remembered your kindness. That made it easy." Word spread fast. It started with an article in the local city digest, then a radio interview, then somehow, Good Morning America. The headline was simple: Teen's act of kindness changes his life and hers. By the end of the week, a camera crew showed up outside the school cafeteria. Students who barely knew Jordan were suddenly shaking his hand, offering high fives, asking to sit with him at lunch. His principal called him into the office, not for trouble, but to tell him they were proud. That the school board wanted to nominate him for a City Youth Award. That Georgetown had called. Twice. At first, Jordan tried to stay quiet. He avoided the front row at assemblies, kept his hoodie pulled over his head. But the story kept growing, without him. One afternoon, his former English teacher invited him to speak at a youth center on the south side. Jordan agreed, reluctantly. The rec room smelled like popcorn and old sweatshirts. Folding chairs were packed wall to wall. He stood in front of a group of kids, some wide-eyed, some skeptical, and took a breath. "I almost did not stop," he said. "That night, I saw her sitting there and I thought, this is not my problem." He paused. "But I thought of my Aunt Thea. I thought, what if that was her? What if she was out there and nobody stopped?" The room was quiet. "I did not do anything special. I just noticed." That line ended up on social media, clipped and shared. "I just noticed." Suddenly, Jordan was being invited to conferences, panels, webinars about youth leadership. A photo of him and Eleanor, taken weeks earlier in her garden, ran in a weekend magazine under the headline, "The Young Man Who Reminded a Titan How to Feel." But Jordan felt uneasy. They were turning something small and human into a brand. He heard kids say things like, "He's that hero from TV," or "He's the scholarship guy," and it made his chest tighten. He knew the truth was smaller, quieter. He was not a savior. He was just a kid on a bike who had noticed someone who looked lost. At home, he taped the card from Eleanor to his mirror. The handwriting was fading, but the words remained. "You reminded me of someone I used to be." That was enough. He did not need to be anyone else's headline. She did not just change his future. She changed the way he saw the world. Weeks passed. The noise around Jordan's story quieted, but something inside him stayed awake. He could not walk through his neighborhood the same way anymore. It was not that the streets had changed. They had always been cracked, uneven, filled with lives that nobody reported on. It was him who saw them differently now. The man slumped on the corner was not just that guy again. The kid asking for change outside the bodega was not just a nuisance. Even the cashier who barely looked up. Jordan saw her now. Tired eyes, swollen hands. A story he had been seen once. And it had changed everything. One cloudy Sunday, he returned to the red brick estate. The gate opened slowly this time, like it already knew him. The woman at the door, same one from last time, just nodded. "She is in the sunroom," she said. "She likes the light more these days." Eleanor Renford sat wrapped in a cashmere shawl, legs curled beneath her like she was waiting for tea that never came. The garden was just beyond the glass. She looked smaller now, like her power was finally settling into her bones, but her eyes, those were still clear. "You came back," she said softly. "I owed you a thank you," Jordan said, hands tucked into his sleeves. "But also, I wanted to know how you knew." "Knew what?" He sat beside her. "That I would show up. That I would care." She let out a thin breath. "Because I used to be you. And someone once showed up for me." She reached for a drawer beside her and pulled out a small white envelope, sealed with wax. "I do not need much these days," she said. "But I had one last thing to give." Inside was a note, just one short paragraph, handwritten in that same shaky script. "You do not owe the world a performance. Just keep paying attention. The right moment will always find you. And when it does, act." Jordan read it twice, then folded it carefully and slid it into his wallet, right behind his bus pass. He did not cry. Neither did she. The room felt full, somehow, like the truth had settled between them, no longer needing applause. They talked about other things for a while, gardens, weather, books she had not finished. When he left, she smiled at him the way someone smiles when they know they will not get to do it again. On the bus ride home, he kept touching the envelope in his pocket. A few stops before his, the driver slowed down for a red light. Jordan turned and glanced out the window. A man was picking through a dumpster behind the corner store, not frantic, just methodical, pulling out bottles, checking their weight, pocketing some. Tossing others back in, Jordan did not get off the bus. He did not take a photo. He did not tweet. But he saw him. Really saw him. That was the difference now. The moment was not his to fix, but it was his to witness. And that, Eleanor had taught. Him was its own kind of responsibility. Not all legacies are written in stone. Some just sit beside you for a while, and then leave you changed. The letter came on a Thursday, a pale cream envelope with no return address, just his name, printed in careful serif type. Inside, a single line from her lawyer, Carter Lynn. Miss Renford passed quietly in her sleep. There will be a private service. You are invited. Jordan read it twice. He did not tell anyone, not his principal, not even Aunt Thea. It felt like something meant to stay between them. The memorial was held in the conservatory, the one with the wide glass ceiling and ivy climbing up the walls. Sunlight poured in like a gentle hush. There were no microphones, no velvet ropes, just 12 chairs, a small table with a framed photograph, and a piano. Nobody played. Eleanor's staff stood in a quiet half-circle, housekeepers, a gardener, a personal nurse. All of them wore simple black. All of them looked like they had lost someone real. Carter Lynn, in his usual tailored suit, gave a short statement. Nothing dramatic, no legacy speech, no dramatic biography. Just this. She lived longer than anyone expected. She left quieter than anyone believed she could. Then he turned to Jordan. You were the only one she asked for by name. Jordan stood, holding the edges of a paper he never read from. I met her on the curb outside a store that barely sells anything fresh. I had just finished a shift and was trying to mind my own business, but she looked like someone who needed a pause. He let out a soft laugh, surprising even himself. She told me later she had built empires, negotiated across oceans. But what stuck with me was when she laughed at my hoodie, said, "That is not much of a uniform, but it suits you." A few people smiled. Most just listened. Jordan folded the paper and tucked it into his coat. I did not come here to talk about her wealth or her legacy. I just came to say thank you for seeing me, for letting me see her. The room stayed still, like it needed a moment to breathe that in. After the service, Jordan walked past the old garden, the same bench, empty now. He paused but did not sit. Something about the way the light hit the bricks made him think of her last note. You do not owe the world a performance. Just keep paying attention. He kept walking, out the gate, down the path, past the hedges that were always trimmed too neat for his taste. The bus stop was quiet. No crowd, no cameras, just Jordan. And the memory of a moment that had outlived them, both. Some moments do not echo across headlines, but they still shape the world. It was an ordinary afternoon. Warm light spilled across the cracked sidewalk as Jordan stood waiting for the bus. No press, no ceremony. Just the hum of city life moving forward, indifferent and fast. Then, a sharp cry. He turned his head. A little girl, no more than 7, had tipped off her scooter and landed hard. Her knee was scraped. Her backpack spilled. People glanced, paused, and kept walking. No cruelty in their steps, just distraction. Just the blur of life. Jordan stepped forward. He knelt beside her and pulled a folded napkin from his pocket. It was a little crumpled, but clean. You're all right, he said gently, wiping her knee. It happens. The girl blinked at him, more surprised than hurt. Her mother arrived a breath later, flustered, panicked. "Oh my God, thank you, I turned for 1 second." Jordan stood, shook his head. "It's nothing." But it was not nothing. Not really. As the mother led her daughter away, Jordan slid his wallet from his pocket. Tucked behind his bus pass was Eleanor's final note, worn soft at the edges. He did not open it. He did not need to. You do not owe the world a performance. Just keep paying attention. He slipped the wallet back and looked around. The world continued as usual, impatient, noisy, unaware. But he felt it now. The quiet threads between moments. The way some things ripple without ever being seen. Jordan breathed in, slow, present. Then the bus pulled up, and he stepped on, just a young man in a hoodie, carrying a lesson stitched into his life. Not loud, not famous, just awake.